And in the words of Maya Angelou, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give. Welcome to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I'm your host, Verdel Jones, and being an educator at heart, I'm dedicated to sharing conversations that inform and enlighten in the hopes that you learn something you may not have known. Well, I am so excited to be here today. We have a great show planned for you. We have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, so I'm going to jump right on in. But first, I would like to thank Melrose Corley. She's an independent Tracy Lynn consultant. She provided my jewelry for today, so when the shot comes back to me, you will be able to see my beautiful earrings and my necklace. And I also want to thank Nancy Vargas Johnson. She is a realtor in the Long Island area. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, you can contact Nancy. Even if you're looking to buy and sell a home out of state, she can hook you up too. So make sure you contact her. So I had a lot going on. As you can see, I'm back. You can see my necklace and my earrings. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Melrose. Love them. I had a lot going on this week. So we're going to talk a little bit about what was going on with me this week in our week in review. And we're going to get that started right now. I went to D.C. I think it was weekend before last, with my girlfriends, and we always get together and we do these girls trips and we have a lot of fun. And just so happens I was on Facebook the other day, and Facebook, you get all the news from Facebook, right? There was an article that talked about how women should hang out at least twice a week, and it improves their health. And this was done by the Oxford University. Researchers said that it improves your health if you have fun with your girlfriends at least twice a week. It improves your recovery time if you're sick. It lessens your anxiety. So the bottom line is, hang out with your girlfriends as much as possible. And that's what I try to do. My girlfriends live out of state. I only have a couple of close ones that live here. I think it's about finding that time, and we try to find that time. So girls, hang out with your girlfriends. It will improve your health. That's your excuse you can use for your significant other. I also was the co-host for the Long Island Shopper Showcase this past Sunday. We had a lot of great vendors here. It was so much fun to be a co-host here. So I want to give a shout out to Bobby and a shout out to Rudy. It was a great, it was a great time. It was really a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to more of the Shopper Showcase. If you did not see that, make sure you check that out on the Strong Island Television Facebook page. You can watch the replay of that. Again, it was a lot of fun. And then Sundays, we always have Sunday dinner. I really wanted to mention that this week because it's really important for you to embrace and, love on your family. And every Sunday we get together with my parents and my grandfather, my brother, my husband, our kids, and we really have a good time. So I just want to say also, so girls, hang out with your girlfriends, and also everybody should really embrace and love on your family. You only get one family. Sometimes they might not be the best, but you only get one, and so we really enjoy each other on Sunday. The last thing before we take a quick break, I want to remind everybody that we're having a Rhyme, Write, and Recite Collective on June 8th at the African American Museum in Hempstead. You see the application information there. So if you know of a 12th grade student that is going to graduate this year and going to college in the fall, and they have a flair for the spoken word, please make sure that you let them know about this scholarship. We gave away or awarded $3,250 to 3 students last year. We had a great event. We're also looking for authors. Again, we're going to have it at the African American Museum in Hempstead. So you can contact me for information. And we're so happy that we secured that venue. It's a great venue. It's really going to be a great event. So make sure you contact me. So this week is, or this month, I should say, is Women's History Month. So we are going to have 4 dynamic women joining us in studio today. Today we're talking about defining ourselves and women speaking out. And when you hear the women that I have here today, you will be just proud. You know, they're really women that are doing their thing and really having an impact on our community. So for Women's History Month, I wanted to have some great women in studio, and we sure do. It's also Colon Cancer Awareness Month, so we're going to be talking to let me see if I get this right, a gastroenterologist about colon cancer screenings. So we're going to be right back. We're going to take a couple minutes break, and when we return, we're going to have our first guest here on Conversations with Verdel Jones. Yeah. Welcome back to Conversations with Verdel Jones. As you see, we have our first guest here, Dr. Cynthia Quainu.
Hi.
Quainu.
I
knew, you know what?
That's perfect. No.
Everyone knows me and names. So as I was saying, March is Colon Cancer Awareness Month. So I'm so happy that you're here to talk about, colon cancer and what people need to do to screen themselves for it, because I think it's an important topic. So you are a gastroenterologist.
Yes.
What does a gastroenterologist actually do? What body parts do you deal with?
Okay, so we basically manage diseases that affect the digestive tract, which include the esophagus, the stomach, the small bowel, the liver, the pancreas, the colon, the rectum. And
that's a lot of areas.
Yes.
And you know what? You're mentioning all of those, and with all of those body parts, there's disease that happens in all of those body parts.
Exactly.
So you address that. What's the Alex Trebek was just diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4.
Yes.
So you hear these things, and there's so many diseases or things, cancers that people can get.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad, like I said, that you're here to talk about this colon cancer, because colon cancer is curable, right?
Yes. When detected early, it's curable.
Right. Why did you want to become a doctor?
Oh, wow. Out of the desire to help people. Yeah, I decided pretty early on. I think my mom says I was three years old.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow. And how did you know you wanted specifically working with the digestive system?
So that came later on during my training, during my residency. I had to make some decisions. I was pretty fascinated with the liver early on.
Okay.
It's a pretty complex organ, and it affects the body when it's not well in several ways that people don't even really realize. So through that, I chose
That's so cool. I love this. A woman being, a doctor, it's a male-dominated field.
Yes.
So how do you navigate that with all these? Because I work in education. You would think it's not a male-dominated field, but I'm an administrator, and at the administration level, there's a lot of men.
Right.
So how do you navigate that? And being a Black woman also.
Right. I navigated it by finding people who are like me, looking for other women, looking for other women of color, either to celebrate with or commiserate with, however you want to look at it.
Exactly.
And also finding mentors that also have
so
the
important.
similar
Yeah, mentors are very, very important. You know, and I would imagine, I'm making assumptions here, but it is a small community, especially in a specific field, I would think, right? Black women who actually, you know, exactly. So that's great. So let's get into it. Why are people so hesitant to get screened for colon cancer? I'm not going to say, but why is it important, especially for Black people?
Right.
But first of all, why are people so hesitant to do it?
I think some people have some embarrassment about talking about their rectum or their anus and about bowel movements. And, you know, there's nothing really that sexy about talking about illnesses that affect that part of the body. So it can be difficult to talk about. But we shouldn't ignore the diseases that affect those parts because it could be deadly.
It could be deadly. You know what? I think sometimes too, it's a matter of being comfortable with somebody to be able to share, you know, those issues with. Because, like you said, nobody wants to talk about that. So I think that's, you know, I know people are kind of uneasy about that, especially if they're not comfortable with it. And so that brings me to, you know, especially Black people. They need to, it's very important for us to be screened as well. Why is it, I mean, it's important for everybody, but why specifically for African Americans is it very critical for them to be screened? Okay.
So in terms of mortality, I think Black men and women compared to any other ethnic group, we have the highest mortality when it comes to colon cancer.
Really?
And the reasons for that is multifaceted, but mostly because we're not getting screened, and a lot of us don't have proper access to health care.
Right. And that brings me to like health disparities. There are health disparities, but the interesting thing with that, I know there was a lot of talk recently about, you know, Black women dying in childbirth is more prevalent because not in the socioeconomic status of the Black woman doesn't matter. So it's that either not being taken seriously or just not being. I don't know what it is. Well, how do you overcome something like that when you have somebody who wants to get the health care that they need, no matter, you know, what their socioeconomic background is, they still get into these roadblocks. Right. You know.
Wow, that's a difficult question.
I
know. But namely doing things like this, like for us to sit here and talk, for other people to see that we're talking about colorectal cancer and how it affects our community, might spark a discussion at someone else's dinner table or a bunch of friends sitting around watching this. So I think it's important to have an open dialogue and talk about these things openly. You know, racism is a systemic issue that affects our whole country. It affects healthcare, affects everything. So we have to be also mindful that those dynamics do exist between in the doctor-patient relationship and as well as every other aspect.
And using, you know, and using your voice, being, you know, saying,
being
hey,
your own advocate.
Being your own advocate and having the knowledge, you know, because if you know what to ask for, or you know, you'll know what you need to get done. So what are some of the symptoms? But before we get to the symptoms of colon cancer, what are the screenings or the procedures that people can utilize to be screened for colon cancer?
So the most sensitive and the most specific kind of high yield procedure that you can do that's considered the gold standard is a colonoscopy. Okay. So that's the go-to if you're going to pick anything. If you have any other reasons not to do the colonoscopy, if it's like other comorbidities that you have, medical problems that might preclude you from getting anesthesia or something like that.
Right, because they do put you under.
Right,
right.
right. Or if there's any other reason that a colonoscopy can't be considered for you, there are other options that are not as good, but there are other options that you could explore.
Like a scan, and you see always on TV the stool.
The stool test.
Yeah, right, the stool test.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but the colonoscopy is really the gold standard
yes,
for something like that. And when people are screened via a colonoscopy, what are doctors looking for?
So we're looking for precancerous growths or polyps or abnormal tissue growths that can occur in the colon.
Okay.
But the colonoscopy, you can simultaneously take those things out while you're doing the procedure.
Right.
Or you can even biopsy other abnormal looking tissue if you need be.
While you're in there.
While you're in there. Exactly.
Get it all done.
Right, exactly, in one shot.
So if you have polyps, because I hear that expression, when people get colonoscopies, they find out they have a polyp. Does that mean that you're eventually going to get cancer, or is it like, what does that mean?
So if the polyp can be successfully removed, then we've abated we've decreased your risk somewhat. But you have to undergo a surveillance that's more aggressive than someone who does not have any polyps. So if you got your first colonoscopy done and you had no polyps, it was completely normal, you can reasonably repeat your colonoscopy in 10 years.
Really?
Yes. If you have one polyp, two or three, up to three polyps, if you have one or two polyps, you repeat in 5 years.
Okay.
If you have three or more, you repeat in 3 years.
Really?
And obviously if you have some type of genetic problem and multiple polyps, then other testing has to be done, and you could get your colonoscopy more frequently.
Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. And people don't like the prep.
People don't like the prep. They don't. Because it involves you depriving yourself of food for a half a day and then drinking a large volume of solution that causes you to have diarrhea to flush out your system. But there are new, low volume, more tasty preps, if you will. But I mean, the end result is the same. And,
right.
It's just something you have to endure.
You have to get it done. And what age should we get our first colonoscopy?
So for Black men and women, it's been the guideline that it's 45 years.
Wow. Yeah. And why is that? Because of the prevalence of it in our community, or?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So say, for example, as I share with you, I had my first colonoscopy, I think it was 45.
Right.
I had some stomach issues, and the doctor said, let's do a colonoscopy, which is great. Right. The gastrologist, it's not gastrologist, it's gastroenterologist. I just say gastro
doctor. You can say GI for sure.
GI, yeah, thank you. He ordered a colonoscopy, which is great. Because some doctors may have let that slide, but he went on and said, get this done. But what are some symptoms that people can look out for in reference to colon cancer?
Okay, so blood per rectum, having blood when you wipe or blood in your stool. I think at this point in the game of the disease, we've kind of passed the point where we can write this off as having hemorrhoids. It's not appropriate. If you have blood and you haven't had it before, you should do something. You should get it, examined. That should be looked at. Having abdominal pain, weight loss, a fatigue from anemia. But these are all symptoms that would occur if you have kind of like an advanced stage cancer.
Okay.
A lot of the early stage cancers and the polyps, you wouldn't have any.
Won't know.
Right, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't have any symptoms. So that's why it's important. Even though you feel well, everything's going great, you still need to get screened.
Wow. So it could be laying dormant. You don't even know.
You don't even know.
Wow.
If you have polyps,
Now, can diet and exercise help you be colon cancer free?
It can help decrease your risk for colon cancer.
Okay.
So even if you're doing all the right things, you still need to get screened. But diets that are high in red meat, high in processed meats have been associated with higher risk of colon cancer. Exercise, sedentary lifestyle has been associated with colorectal cancer.
Interesting.
So, and the lack of exercise will lead to the obesity, which leads to diabetes, which is highly correlated with colon cancer.
Is that right?
As well. Yes.
Oh, that's why in the African American community it's
right. So we have a lifestyle issue.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
So you educate people around these topics. So how can people, if they want to get more information, how can they reach out to you? How can they, because I would love to see, I'm sure you do, you speak everywhere about this. It's such an important topic. So how can people reach out to you?
So I'm at Brookdale Hospital. My office number is 718-240-6025. You can call for an appointment.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
It was a pleasure talking
Thank
to
you
you.
so much
Thank
for
you.
being here. Thank you. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have our next guest. Thank you for watching Conversations with Verdel Jones.
Everybody get up when you're feeling down. Everybody get up, turn your life around.
When you trust yourself, you have the power to make up your life. Studio 1031 is an environment where excellence is always expected. We work with all types of people from all walks of life. We give deserving women something that they wouldn't give themselves.
Everybody get up.
Come join this makeup movement. When you're feeling down, turn your life around. Make up your life.
I know it's gonna be alright.
Welcome back to Conversations with Verdel Jones. As you see, I have the lovely Miss Stephanie Jones here with me. Thank you so much for being on Conversations with Verdel Jones.
Thank you for having me.
So we're celebrating Women's History Month, and you know, we're trying to create spaces where women can define themselves and speak out. And part of celebrating womanhood, you know, deals with looking good on the outside that helps you to feel good on the inside. And hair has a lot to kind of contribute to that.
A lot.
A lot. So you are the talk show host of Make Up Your Life here on Strong Island Television. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But you're also the owner of Studio 1031 in Baldwin. So how did you start your salon? Like, what made you want to own your own business?
Well, I've always wanted to own my own business.
Okay.
I started doing hair when I was young, when I was about maybe 13 years old, and I always had a knack for it. I went to beauty school right outside of high school.
Okay.
And then the beauty school closed. Like they went through like a little transition, and I just got a regular job. And one of my really close girlfriends, one of my BFFs, she was a hairstylist, and she said, "Girl, you need to go and get your license. You gotta do hair. If you go get your license, you can come work for me." And I said, "Well, that's what I'm going to do."
Right.
So that was in 1994.
Okay.
And I started working for her in 1995.
Wow.
I left, went to a couple of other salons, and didn't really like the environment. So I wanted to create my own environment.
Yeah, and it looks fancy schmancy.
Thank you.
Very nice. I got to make an appointment, but very, very nice. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So Studio 1031 was birthed from two other salons that I owned prior. So I've actually been in business for 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first salon was Strands Hair and Spa, and the second one was Strands Hair and Bridal.
Okay.
And then Studio 1031.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. That's awesome. So, you know, like I said, we're talking about your hair and how you look good on the outside, makes you feel good on the inside. And and I really wanted to talk to you about natural hair, because there's been a lot of movement toward, you know, women of color, African American women moving toward natural hair.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's become so prevalent?
Well, first of all, we've had a lot of issues with hair falling out. We've had a lot of issues with alopecia. We've had a lot of issues with relaxers. So I've been natural for about 14 years, you know, up underneath all this weave. But I've been natural for about 14 years. I've weaned most of my clients off of relaxers because
That's awesome.
relaxers
That's
are
great.
being linked to uterine fibroids.
Right. I remember I saw a show that you know, on here, and you were talking about that.
Yeah. I mean, they're not saying they're not saying that that's what it is, but it's being linked the same way that hair color was being linked to cancer.
Okay.
So, you know, people are taking precautions. They, you know, and once you can identify hair loss, that's when you have to take that extra step as a licensed professional.
Right.
I also studied trichology back in 2011.
And what's trichology?
It's the study of hair.
Okay.
It's, you know, how it grows, you know, all aspects of the skin and scalp. So I know a little bit more than the average hairstylist. And what prompted me to go further my education was one of my clients began to have hair loss.
Wow.
And she was a regular client.
And you know what, the link between relaxers and uterine fibroids, African American women have a high you know, rate of uterine
very
fibroids.
high.
I think every woman I know has fibroids, you know, and we relax our hair,
Right.
you know, so, you know, but so keeping the natural, like I did the big chop about over 22 years ago. And, you know, I loved my hair was short. It was great. But it's sometimes I let it grow out. But how do you maintain natural hair? You know, there's different ways you could do it. You could wear something like you said. You have your hair on now, right? Protective styles. So let's talk a little bit about that. How to manage and how to care for natural hair.
Well, in my salon, we all do natural hair. So basically, we have a lot of natural clients that come in. So if you can afford to come to the salon every 2 weeks, get your hair washed, conditioned, steam treatments, twist outs. Sometimes our clients get their hair blown out. So they wear it straight, but they want to have the duality of wearing it straight or curly.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's that black girl magic. Okay.
Right.
That's that's really the magic.
And that's why I would never ever put a relaxer in my hair again, because I can wear it so many different ways. Yeah. You know.
Definitely. And as we get older, the hair starts to thin out naturally anyway.
Yes.
So I took a look at my mom 15 years ago when I started to see how she was thinning, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop doing this. Right. And I stopped.
It's so true. You know, I find like, what about products? Because there are 1,001 products for natural hair care, and I'm a product junkie. So I said, let me try this. Like, what can you recommend for individuals that, you know, wear their hair natural? You know, I know it depends on what kind of hair they may have, but what are some suggestions for women looking for a product that is right for them?
You're gonna go through trial and error, that's for sure.
Right.
I have weaned my clients off. I've given them the big chop, and we've played around with different types of products. Is that you have to find what's good for you, because everybody's hair texture is different.
Right.
So I also tell clients to stay away from water-based products.
Okay.
So, you know, water is, if that first ingredient is water, then you kind of want to shy away from that.
Okay, that's a great tip.
And you can also make your own products at home.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, that is the best. That is
Yeah.
one of the best ways to deal with. We have so many. It's a big boom now. You
It
know,
really is.
with the natural hair. So we have we're saturated.
It's so hard to decipher what to get. It really is. You know. And then what happens is you start to use a product and you're like, oh, this is it. This product is the bomb. And then all of a sudden you use the product a month later and it's like, this product is not the same.
Yeah.
Why does that happen? It's so frustrating.
I think it happens because the product is, from the beginning is not good for the hair. And a lot of these products are water based.
Right.
So I really feel like you should get your own and mix your own products together.
And what type of things would you mix? What type of things are good for your hair, no matter what, curl pattern or whatever you might have?
Coconut oil,
Okay.
olive oil, rosemary oil.
Okay.
Let me think some other things that we use. When we do detanglers, detanglers should be with warm water, olive oil, lemon juice.
Okay.
A natural cleanser for the hair is also vinegar.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
So instead of using
and you put like fragrance in it so it doesn't smell like vinegar, or it doesn't really smell?
No, you just have to deal with it. You're only washing it. You're doing that first wash with it. Letting it sit on the scalp. You let it. Yeah. That's one of the best things for a dry scalp.
I was just going to ask.
Is vinegar.
Really? Wow.
And steam treatments. Steam treatments are the best thing for natural hair.
Okay.
It's like a facial for the
your hair
and scalp.
Right. So and you also said something about protective styles. And what does that mean? Because I've never had I've never had I bought a wig. I look crazy because I probably didn't get the right one. But what are some protective styles that people can use?
Some protective styles are, of course, what I wear. I wear a traditional sew-and weave.
Okay.
That's what I wear.
Okay.
Some people do braids.
Yes.
Some people do crochet. I prefer crochet because it doesn't have, it's not as much tension.
Right. It
on
doesn't
your hair.
pull on your hair. Okay.
Right.
And that's when you braid it and then you literally crochet it in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what other services do you provide? And then I want to make sure we talk about Make Up Your Life.
Okay.
But what services do you provide? And I know you're in Baldwin. We're going to put up your contact information.
Okay.
But what services do you provide? What can people experience? What do they come away with when they come to your salon?
Well, my slogan is we're an environment where excellence is expected. We have top-notch hairstylists that can perform any service.
Okay.
We do natural hair, we do relaxed hair, we make wigs,
that's right.
we do full head weaves, we do colors. Anything that you're looking for, we do all hair at all textures, all types.
Nice. So let's talk about your show here on Strong Island, Make Up Your Life. What is the show about? How can people watch it? And I see you guys are having a great time. So tell people about that.
Yeah, we're having a great time. We really are. Make Up Your Life is exactly what it is. It's a women's empowerment show. We also want to do some makeovers for men as well. So we're not limiting it to women. So my co-host and I, Lori, we're very good friends. We've been doing makeovers on people for a few years.
Okay.
But it's just our clients and our friends. So I'll say, oh, listen, I have a friend. I do her hair. and I want you to do her makeup. And so we do little ambush makeovers. So we decided to do.
I love it.
We decided to make a show out of it, but we wanted to give back. So all of our makeovers are totally and completely free.
Nice.
We give makeovers to deserving men and women. And we partnered with Bloomingdale's Tony Jefferson, and she does our fashion styling for us.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So you actually do that on the show?
We actually do it on. We actually bring the guests out on the show, but we do a lot of the behind the scenes at our salons.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. And when can people? When can they watch it and tune in to see Make Up Your Life?
8 o'clock. Sunday, Strong Island TV. Like and share.
Like and share. Stephanie, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on Conversations with Verdel Jones. It was so nice meeting you face to face. And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to have our next guest. Thank you for watching Conversations with Verdel Jones.
This play is about women and the struggles that women have within the society, struggles that sometimes they're not able to really communicate, because when you do communicate them, you're perceived as angry.
Living and trying to survive in a racist and sexist society has separated us, divided us, caused us to raise our hands up against each other, curse each other, and it gives black men the excuse to use the B word and call us hoes. Stop. Excuse me? That hoe over there.
I sent out a call to all my sisters, so to speak, and asked them, had they ever written on any issue, poetry, prose, anything that they felt like they wanted to share. And so then I got such an outpouring of work that we decided to put it together into a play.
Welcome back to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I am delighted to have these two women here with us in studio. We have Marsha McNair, and you guys know who this is, Maya Jones. So we are celebrating Women's History Month, and like I said, I have two passionate women here who are, they're passionate about sharing their voice. You know, and I really like the connection, you know, with you both and the intergenerational thing that's going on here. I love it. So Marsha McNair is the co-author of the award-winning musical Sisters on Fire, and Maya is the founder and editor-in-chief of Shades of Long Island. So welcome both to Conversations with Verdel Jones. So Marsha, could you tell us a little bit about, we saw the clip there, but can you tell us a little bit about Sisters on Fire and how it kind of came to fruition?
Well, Sisters on Fire is about creating awareness about the many issues facing African American women in society today. And we wanted a way to motivate people to fight against social injustice. And that's been, we've had a long history of that in our community, but recent events, we saw a certain apathy starting to grow, and so we thought, how can we reach people without seeming preachy?
Right. Right.
You know, so Sisters on Fire has poetry, it is prose, it's more a form of edutainment.
Right. I saw, there was a clip, I think, on Facebook today. I saw the singing in there, and there was a little rapping in there.
Yes.
And so now you co-authored the Sisters on Fire.
Yes.
So from the music to everything, that's all your creation and your co-author as well?
Well, the music is by Nyrisha.
Okay.
And she is a young woman who lives in Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice.
She's gotten a couple of awards herself.
That's awesome.
And has a small production company.
Okay.
And I thought it was important that with this type of play that we give opportunities to other women of color.
Right, absolutely.
So she came up with the music.
Okay.
However, at the very beginning, Jusan Williams was very instrumental in creating the music and doing the choreography. And and our latest revival, which is at the East Village Playhouse, Jusan has been able to join us again. So we're really excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So again, sharing our voices, getting our voices out there is so you know, so critical. And Maya, you started Shades of Long Island, and again, it's about getting our voice out there. So why did you decide to create, first tell people what Shades of Long Island is, and why did you decide to create it?
So Shades of Long Island is a media outlet. It's a website that highlights topics related to minorities, millennials, and Generation Z on Long Island. So on the website, we cover lifestyle, entertainment, Long Island news, and general news. And I created the site because I wanted to be able to highlight people in those demographics, people my age, or you know, different minorities on Long Island, because there really isn't a media outlet that covers us exclusively and fairly and accurately, in my opinion. I mean, no shade on, you know, like News 12 or, you know, Newsday or anything like that. I love them. But, you know, I wanted to create something that, you know, spoke to someone like me.
Right. And also, you know what, it's, you know, those outlets that you mentioned, they do focus in pockets, you know, little stories here and there, but there's nothing consistent
Right.
that
It's not
really
exclusive.
that really speaks to you know, the diverse population that we have on Long Island, especially the younger you know, Gen X, no, you're, what are you?
Millennial. Right. Because people don't know that there are
Losing track myself.
I'm a Gen Xer. All right, it's okay.
I don't know what I am. They didn't name us back in my day.
But right, you know, I think it's important to have, you know, to have those voices out there.
because people don't know that there are like Black people and Asian people and
Right.
Latino people on Long Island. Some
Right.
people don't know that.
Yeah, exactly. Long Island is a very segregated, you know, environment.
Yeah, and that's one of the issues we deal with in the play, the fact that Long Island is one of the most segregated areas in the country.
Absolutely.
And it motivated me to write a poem, Long Island Just Isn't Long Enough,
Okay.
which has been excerpted in a couple of anthologies.
Okay.
And so though the entire play isn't about Long Island, we do
You touch on
have
that.
that Long Island perspective
Right, yeah.
in there. And my co-author, Anissa Moore, and we both teach at Nassau Community College.
Okay.
She made history in becoming the first African-American woman elected to the Long Beach City Council.
Oh, wow.
So we're both very politically motivated.
also.
We've been fighting social injustice for a long
That's
time on a
awesome.
lot of different levels.
Right, yeah, that's-
Here on Long Island.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
So you're both writers. You know, how do people develop or begin to even think about developing a play? You know, Maya's interested in you know, script writing, like movies and screenplays, right? So how do you begin the process of even developing a play?
Well, I think Sisters on Fire really developed organically. I was motivated by the execution of Frances Newton, who was the first African American woman to be executed since 1869 in Texas. And there was very little media attention to that execution. I actually found out about it a day before she was about to be executed.
Wow.
And it just angered me so much, it saddened me, but it then inspired me in a way, because I said we African American women have to stop waiting for other people to speak up for us and begin speaking up for ourselves.
You know what? And the interesting thing now is, you know, African American women make so many movements happen. You know, you look at a lot of things that are going on right now.
Exactly.
And our voices are really shining, and we're speaking out and speaking up, and I think it's important to, you know, to kind of nurture that, you know, and our young people are doing that, our old people are doing that, you know, it's just, you know, I think we're maybe fed up.
Right. I think it's our time, because if you look at the you know, hashtag Me Too movement, all of these movements, Mute R. Kelly, they've all been initiated by African American women.
Black Lives Matter.
Yes,
Started by
Black Lives,
Right,
exactly. Yes.
So, Maya, what do you think is the biggest challenge in creating content, sharing, you know, our voices? Like, how do you find stories to cover?
Well, I mean, sometimes, like, especially when I, like, initially started, which was, like, back in January, I think it was kind of hard to find, like, some of the minorities on Long Island and their stories. And their, like, that's why I'm glad there's, like, Black Long Island, like, that Facebook group. And I was able to, the more I've been into, I met Marsha, you know, through Long Island Girl Talk. And, you know, I was able to eventually find, you know, minorities and people of color to, you know, reach out to for stories and to cover. But initially, I was like, where are we at?
You can go to a few places and find us.
Right. So it was a little hard. I would look on social media, and you know, like, I'm like, I know there's minorities on Long Island. I have to find them. Like, where, like, you know, so, and like the amount of coverage, like I said, which is why I created the site,
Yes,
is lacking.
absolutely.
So
Right.
it was hard
Right.
to find people at first.
You know, I think, you know, what I was saying in the beginning, the intergenerational connection, you know, that was made because, you know, you work with Marsha on some things, and, you know, Natasha, nurse, you know, as well. And I just love that. But what advice would you give, or what advice can each of you share to kind of build on this? Because I think it's so important. So what advice would you share with others trying to make those intergenerational connections to get our voice heard?
Well, I think that social media, it often gets a bad rap, but there are some aspects to it that make a lot of this much more doable than it was in my day when you wanted to spread your message, you had to photocopy something and hand it out on the street. You don't have to do that
You don't
now.
have to do that. Right. Exactly.
And so I would say people need to start with that and search out the positive groups, the proactive groups of like-minded individuals on social media. Even for writers, there are many writer groups online for people of all ages and races, and they provide a terrific support system. I know in terms of after we wrote the play, the idea of now what do we do? How do we get it out there? I did a lot of net searching for contests, for festivals. That was the way I found out where do I send my play? Who do I connect with? We have been in the New York New Works Theater Festival, but how did I find out that group? Online. Just online. So that's a big suggestion I have. People shouldn't be afraid so much of social media. It's how you use it.
How you use it, right.
Definitely.
Use it for good.
Right. Definitely depends on how you use it.
Any suggestions for continuing the intergenerational dialogue?
Well, I would say, like, I guess for my generation, like millennials connecting with other generations, like there's a fine balance between being humble and not being afraid to ask. There's a balance that you have to have. And I mean, for me personally, I mean, I love talking to people who are older than me. Like, I've always been around people who are older than me, and I just love the wisdom and the experience. So appreciate that because, you know, people who are older than you, they've been through life. They can tell you some things that you can avoid, you know? But at the same time, don't be intimidated, and remember that just because you're young, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have experience or that you can't go up to a person who has more experience and say, hey, you know, this is what I want to do. So find a fine balance in between being humble and being assertive and knowing what you want to say.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. So you mentioned, Marsha, Long Island Girls Talk.
Yes.
This is, I love this.
Me too. When I found out about it, I was like, oh my God.
It's so awesome. And you're the executive director.
Well, I have this on tape, so we want you to come speak to our girls.
I would love to. I would absolutely love to.
I have a lot of witnesses to this. You love it, so we want to see you there.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. So you're the executive director of Long Island Girls Talk. What is Long Island Girls Talk?
Well, Long Island Girl Talk was motivated by the idea that there's a lack of diversity in television and film. And in terms of women, in terms of people of color. And so we thought, how can we begin to address this issue? And maybe when you start to think about a problem, you might need to just start small. You know, sometimes if you think of it on too large a scale, it kind of overwhelms you.
Absolutely.
So thinking small, what can we do locally? We decided that perhaps we can create a program for girls to encourage them to enter those industries, to do career exploration, and so that they would have exposure to, especially the technical aspect that most women are afraid of. We wanted the girls not just to sit in front of the camera, but also to be behind the camera. And so that's how Long Island Girl Talk was born. A very small group of girls. We got together and said, hey, you want to learn how to create your own television show? And they were all excited. They didn't know how hard it would be.
And it's hard. It's not easy, right?
They didn't know.
It is not easy. And it's. I know Maya has, attended some of the events, and she, with the young girls. What age group are the other girls involved?
8 to 18.
Oh, wow.
And every
Oh, wow.
year we have different groups.
Right,
So we have a
okay.
younger group of girls this cycle.
Okay.
And Maya is actually our social media coordinator. So she's an essential part of the success of this group, definitely.
That's awesome, and I love. And you know what? You're doing a good job.
She is.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Oh, she's a godsend for us.
Right, yeah. You know, as you mentioned with social media, it's so much, it's overwhelming, and to have someone
Yes.
who really gets it
Right.
is a blessing.
And to get our message
That's
out
right,
there.
and get the message
and
out.
The girls are creating some real interesting work, but if nobody's watching it, if they don't know
Right,
about it,
that's right.
it doesn't really matter. So, because you were speaking about intergenerational dialogue, and I think that's one thing that happens with Long Island
Right.
Girl Talk.
Exactly.
Because the parents actually, we work with them as well, and they get to see what concerns their girls have,
Absolutely.
how they feel about school, how they feel about the future, how they feel about politics even. It's real interesting to get the point of view of the, they're not millennials, who's way behind? Like
Generation Z.
Oh, they're
Generation
Generation
Z.
Z. Right,
Right,
okay, okay. So it's fascinating.
It is.
And our girls, I think, especially girls of color, often you don't get to experience them as intellectuals, and I think that's an extremely important image for people to actually get to see.
Right.
You know, when we see many girls of color, they might be twerking or singing or doing something,
yeah,
that's not really
understood.
using their minds.
Right,
and
absolutely.
that's Long Island Girl Talk is kind of changing that stereotype.
Awesome. That's awesome. So we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll come back right back to us because I want to make sure that we get your contact information. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and then we're going to wrap up the show.
Premiumbeat.com.
Okay, welcome back. I want to make sure that, Marsha, if you can let us know where people can get information to get tickets for Sisters on Fire. We do have some contact information, so maybe we'll show that, and you can just let people know where they can get tickets.
Well, the easiest way to get tickets is to go to our website, which is sistersonfire.com. Remember, that's SISTAS, all right? And we still have a few tickets available. Our production, or our latest production, ends on March 17th. So I would hurry and purchase those tickets now.
Okay, and Maya, I know you are looking for writers, supporters, sponsors. Where can people contact you?
Yes.
I think we have some information about that as well, so we'll show that. And Maya, just let people know what you're looking for and how they can reach you.
Well, it's shadesoflongisland.com, and the Instagram is LI Shades. The Twitter is Shades LI, and on Facebook, the handle is Shades LI as well. And yes, like she said, I'm looking for writers, videographers, photographers, sponsors. Use all the help I can get, so I'm a part of Shades of Long Island.
All right, okay. And also, we had some fabulous women in here today celebrating Women's History Month. I want to make sure that everybody knows how to reach Dr. Cynthia Queno. We can show her contact information as well. Colon cancer screening. Make sure you get your colon cancer screening done. We also had Stephanie Jones. Stephanie Jones is she's a host here, and she is also the owner of Studio 1031. So you can check that out as well. So we are just so thankful that you joined us today. I also want to make sure I give a shout out again to Melrose Corley. She is the independent Tracy Lee consultant. She provided these lovely jewels here. So I want to thank her very much. So if you're looking to, get some nice jewelry, to set off your outfit just right, you can contact her as well. So I want to thank everybody for watching Conversations with Verdel Jones, and I want to thank all of my guests we had today. And everyone have a good night, and I'll see you next time.